Look, why are we here? There's a lot of political activity going on, the Wisconsin primary, but there's also the big recall, the total recall of Scott Walker. No, not Arnold Schwarzenegger, Scott Walker. They want to recall him here, the liberals do, the anti-union folks do, because of his collective bargaining bill that he passed and a lot of the anti-union provisions inside of that bill. Well, it has a lot of people here riled up. And that recall is going to happen June 5th, just in a couple of months. And because of that, we came out here and look where we found ourselves. We found ourselves at the Executive Mansion, Scott Walker's residence, right there along the beautiful water. Just, it was pristine, it really was it not? It was beautiful. Anyhow, we have this wonderful conversation with him, and I want you to take a look at some of this. Take a step back as to what you have done here in Wisconsin and the uproar that it has received. If this is the new wave of what other governors need to look towards in the future, talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I think that's why this battle is not just about me and whether I'm the governor or not. This is a much larger play for those outside interests. For me, it was just about fixing it. I came in last year kind of like a small business owner and said, here's a problem, here's a solution, now just get out and fix it. If I had it over to do again, I'd probably spend more time last January and February making the case for why we needed the change. Good example. I mean, for years, school districts in our state overwhelmingly had to buy their health insurance from essentially just one company, a company that just happened to be affiliated with the teachers union. We changed all that. Now they can bid that out, and they've saved tens of millions of dollars. If I had made that case up front, I think people would have gone, hey, Governor, you need to fix that. But instead, I fixed it, and then I made my case. Now, I've learned from that, and on education reform, some other things we've been working on in the past year. We've done a better job of making the case up front, bringing people together to solve the solution, and then acting on it. But I guess if I had to be accused of one thing or the other, I'd rather be accused of fixing something first and then explaining it, as opposed to explaining it and not fixing it at all. And that's really what's at stake. But per your question, I think what's happened is, because we did that, and because along the way we empowered both state and local governments to ask a little bit more for pension and health care contributions for me and for every other public employee in this state. By doing that, the big government unions, particularly from Washington, looked at that and said, hey, you can't do that. We want to automatically get our hands on those workers' money. We want to keep that union dues money, and we don't want them to have any choice in the matter. So the message to other governors is, I think clearly they want to defeat me. They want to take me out on June 5th so that no other governor, not just Republicans, but there's a number of discerning Democrats who understand that these issues have to be dealt with as well, and not just in governors, but mayors around the country. And I think the unions realize that when we prevail, it'll send a powerful message all over this country that you can take on tough issues. You can do what people have argued should be done for years, which is get our fiscal house in order, and you'll be sustained. And they don't want that. They want people to live in fear of challenging any of these status quo items again in the future.
How important is your victory on June 5th as it relates to the Tea Party movement? Because there are going to be a lot of folks that say, look, if you lose, they're going to say, we took down a Tea Party guy who tried to do his Tea Party agenda and we won. What will it say about the Tea Party if you actually win on June 5th?
Well, I think it says even beyond. I think it goes even more fundamental than that. What I think it does is when we prevail, it sends a powerful, powerful message, not just here in my state house, but in Springfield, in Columbus, in Albany, in Austin, in Tallahassee, and state houses all across America. And equally, if not more so, it says in Washington, D.C., where people like my friend Paul Ryan and others are trying to tackle tough issues as well. It sends a powerful message that voters are saying, yeah, we do want leaders to stand up and do the right thing. We do want them to tackle the tough issues. Conversely, if God help us if we fail, I think it sets aside any sort of courage in American politics for at least a decade, if not a generation. And that's why I say all the time, that's why we can't fail.
Where does God fit into all of this? Because as a PK, as you called yourself earlier, look, I mean, there's got to be peace there at the root of all of this for you.
Oh, absolutely. People ask, all the time, how do you, Tonette and the boys, get through this? It's really prayer. It's the prayers that we have as a family, that we have individually, and the prayers that people tell us about, and those that we don't even hear about, but we feel, of people all around our state and really around the country, that people go out of the way to lift this up. It has been so amazing to us, and really as a family, I think it's made us stronger. When you think about, we realize that, all this is just a temporary thing, and you know, God's got a plan for us that who knows where it might be, even beyond just serving as governor of this state. But if we stay true to that, there's always comfort, and God's grace is abundant no matter what you do. And it's just every step of the way, what I've tried to do, and in fact, our Lieutenant Governor, Rebecca Clayfish, asked me about this the other day, who's just been spectacular as well. She asked me, she said, Scott, how do you feel like you're living your faith strong enough? You know, she was asking about this on a trip we're on. And I said, yeah. I said, the interesting thing is, for me, it's not just about, you know, going out and quoting scripture or this. I said, it's in how you live. And what I've tried to do over this past year is, even at the moments of the peak of the attacks and the incivility and everything else, to make sure what I did was calm, it was reasoned.
That is Scott Walker here on the Brody File. Look, there is a lot to protest when it comes to Scott Walker. There are a lot of folks angry at him. There are a lot of folks angry at me right now that I'm being a cheesehead in Wisconsin. But take a look at some of these protesters that we saw in Madison, Wisconsin. These protesters gather every day at noon, Monday through Friday, right there at the state capitol in Madison, Wisconsin, telling Scott Walker, we've had enough, we want you out of here. We'll see how it works. So far, the polling looks to be about 50-50. Could go either way. We talked to one of the Wisconsin Democratic Party officials about Walker, because we are, of course, fair and balanced here at the Brody File.
He came in a real vague platform where he said he was going to create jobs with no real plans. And then he came into Wisconsin, the Madison, and he introduced a real radical program. And Wisconsin is neither too far to the right, too far to the left. And he imported all these very radical, extreme ideas that had never been talked about in the campaign. And people felt really deceived. And so what happened was, almost immediately people said, hey, we didn't sign up for this. And they went to the streets and they turned that energy into recall campaigns. And now it's resulted in the biggest petition drive in American history.